Ethan stood outside the auditorium, holding the edge of his graduation gown, his heart beating with both excitement and hope. He had imagined this day for years, the moment his parents would finally look at him with pride. The air buzzed with laughter, cheers, and the click of cameras as families hugged their children. But among the joyful noise, Ethan felt the silence of absence. He scanned the crowd again and again, searching for his parents' faces. His classmates were surrounded by their families, smiling through tears, holding flowers and gifts. Ethan's hands were empty. He kept telling himself they were just running late, that maybe traffic was bad or the car broke down. But as the names were called and the ceremony neared its end, reality settled like a weight on his chest. They weren't coming. When the ceremony ended, students tossed their caps in the air, laughter echoing across the hall. Ethan smiled weakly for photos with classmates, pretending he didn't notice the pity in their eyes. He walked home alone, the evening wind cold against his face. His diploma felt heavier than it should, as if the pride he wanted to feel had turned into disappointment. Each step echoed with a quiet question he couldn't shake. Why didn't they come? The house was dark when he arrived. No decorations, no music, no sign that his parents remembered what day it was. On the kitchen table sat a note. Couldn't make it. Car trouble. Be home late. That was all. No congratulations, no apology, nothing that showed they cared. Ethan stared at the note for a long time, the words blurring. He tried to convince himself it didn't matter, that maybe they really had car trouble, but a small voice in the back of his mind whispered the truth. If they wanted to be there, they would have been. He reheated leftovers and sat in silence, replaying the graduation in his head. His friends' parents had screamed their names, waved banners, recorded every second. His parents hadn't even sent a message. He felt invisible, like an afterthought in his own family. When the door finally opened near midnight, his mother walked in laughing, her perfume filling the air. His father followed, carrying grocery bags. They looked surprised to see him still awake. "Oh, hey," his mother said lightly. "How was it?" "It was fine," Ethan replied quietly. He waited for them to ask for details, to show interest, but his mother only nodded and started unpacking groceries. His father didn't even look up. The silence between them said more than words could. Ethan went to his room, shut the door, and sat on the edge of his bed. His eyes burned, but he refused to cry. He promised himself he'd never need their approval again. The next morning, the house was filled with the smell of coffee. His mother sat at the table, scrolling through her phone. His father was reading the newspaper. They acted as if nothing had happened. When Ethan entered, his mother smiled too brightly. "Congratulations again, honey. Oh, by the way, we need to talk." Ethan froze. Her tone was casual, but there was a sharpness underneath. She looked up, voice sweet but firm. "You've started that job at the hardware store, right? That's great. We're a little behind this month. Your dad's hours got cut and the bills are piling up. We need 2100s, Ethan blinked. "What?" His father folded the newspaper and said calmly, "We've done a lot for you, son. It's time you help out." "I don't even have that kind of money," Ethan said, his voice shaking. "I just started working. My paycheck isn't enough." His mother sighed, irritated. "You're an adult now, Ethan. We paid for everything your whole life. Your food, your clothes, your education. You can at least give something back. You owe us." Ethan couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You didn't even come to my graduation. And now you're asking me for money?" His father's eyes turned cold. "Watch your tone. We've done more than enough for you. Don't be ungrateful." Ungrateful. That word hit like a slap. Ethan's hands trembled. He wanted to scream, to tell them how abandoned he'd felt standing alone at the biggest moment of his life. But he knew it wouldn't matter. They'd twist it around, make him the problem like always. "I can't help you," he said finally. "I need my savings to move out." His mother's smile faded. "So that's how it is? You think you're too good for us now?" "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to," she snapped. "You'll regret this." Ethan turned away, heart pounding. He packed his things that night, stuffing clothes and books into 2 suitcases. He wasn't going to let them control him anymore. He left a note saying he was moving into his own place, that he needed space. He didn't look back. At first it felt freeing. His apartment was small and old, but it was quiet, peaceful. He worked long shifts, saved money, and started feeling like his life was finally his own. But the peace didn't last. 3 days later, a loud knock shook his door. When he opened it, 2 police officers stood outside. "Ethan Price?" One of them asked. "Yes, we need to ask you some questions. Your parents reported that you stole several electronic items from their house when you left." Ethan's stomach dropped. "What? That's not true. Those things are mine." The officers were calm but firm. "We'll need to verify that. Do you have receipts?" Ethan scrambled through drawers and folders, showing them every proof he could find. His laptop receipt, the TV warranty, even text messages from his parents mentioning those same items as his. It took hours, but finally the officers seemed convinced. They left after filing a statement, promising to look into it. When the door closed, Ethan sank to the floor. His hands were shaking. His parents had really done it. They'd tried to ruin him because he refused to give them money. That night, he couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, mind spinning. He thought about every time he'd helped them without complaint, when he worked 2 jobs to pay part of his tuition, when he skipped vacations to save money. And this was how they repaid him? By turning him into a criminal? The next morning, he went to work exhausted, barely able to focus. His boss noticed and asked what was wrong. Ethan lied, saying he wasn't feeling well. But inside, anger burned hotter than ever. It wasn't just betrayal. It was humiliation. His own parents had destroyed his trust. He imagined them sitting at home, proud of what they'd done, convinced they were right. To them, he wasn't a son. He was a resource, a wallet, a tool, a means to get what they wanted. The following week, the police cleared him of all accusations. One of the officers even apologized. But the apology didn't erase the damage. Word had already spread. His landlord looked at him differently. Neighbors whispered. Even his coworkers gave him suspicious glances. His parents had tainted his name with lies, and the worst part was, they didn't care. When Ethan called to confront them, his mother answered with a calm, almost cheerful tone. "Oh, that? It was a misunderstanding," she said. "We thought you took those things by mistake." "By mistake?" Ethan's voice cracked. "You called the police on me!" "Well," she replied coldly, "maybe next time you'll think twice before disrespecting your parents." That was the final straw. Ethan hung up without another word. The pain turned into something darker, a deep, simmering fury. He wanted them to feel what they had done to him, to understand the loneliness, the betrayal, the heartbreak of realizing your own family sees you as expendable. But beneath the anger was something else, a broken kind of sadness. The kind that comes when you finally see the truth about the people you love. He realized then that they weren't going to change. They'd never apologize, never understand. As night fell, Ethan sat on his balcony, staring at the city lights. His phone buzzed with messages from friends congratulating him again on his graduation, unaware of the storm behind his calm replies. He didn't tell them what happened. He didn't need sympathy. He needed clarity. His parents had taught him a lesson without meaning to. Family isn't defined by blood, but by respect. And respect, once broken, can never be forced back together. That night, Ethan made a silent promise. He wouldn't let revenge consume him, but he also wouldn't forget. He would rise higher, not out of spite, but out of strength. He would become everything they said he couldn't, successful, independent, untouchable. And one day, when they reached out again, he'd be the one to decide whether to answer. The days after the police visit felt like a fog. Ethan went through his routine like a ghost. Wake up, go to work, come home, eat, sleep. But inside, something had cracked. The betrayal was too deep, too personal. His own parents had tried to destroy his life for money. Every time he thought about it, his chest tightened. He replayed that moment when the officers came to his door, the look of suspicion in their eyes, the neighbors peeking through their curtains. It was humiliation he couldn't wash off. He spent nights staring at the ceiling, wondering how things had gone so wrong. He wasn't a bad son. He had worked hard, stayed out of trouble, and never asked for anything. But his parents didn't see him as a person. They saw him as an investment they could cash in. That thought haunted him. The anger grew sharper each day until it wasn't just pain. It was a plan forming quietly in the back of his mind. At first, revenge felt wrong. He told himself he should move on, focus on work, forget them. But every message they sent, each one pretending nothing had happened, lit the anger again. His mother texted one morning, "Hope you're doing well. Don't forget your father's birthday gift." Ethan read it twice, disbelief turning into fury. They had reported him to the police, and now they expected a gift? He didn't reply. He started ignoring every call, every text. He blocked their numbers, but they found new ways to contact him. They left voicemails pretending they were the victims, twisting the story into something false. "We just wanted help," his mother said in one message. "You overreacted." Ethan realized something. His parents were not just selfish. They were manipulative. They twisted the truth until they believed it themselves, and everyone around them believed it too. Their neighbors adored them, calling them kind and generous. His father volunteered at the community center, smiling in photos with local leaders. His mother's small business had glowing reviews, customers praising her honesty. The world saw them as saints, but Ethan knew the truth. That's when the idea took root. Maybe his revenge didn't need shouting. Maybe it needed silence, the kind that exposes people without a single lie. He started collecting proof. He saved old text messages, voicemails, bank transfers, anything showing how they'd used him for money over the years. He didn't know yet what he'd do with it, but it gave him power. For the first time, he didn't feel helpless. Work became his escape. He threw himself into it, taking extra shifts, learning new skills, saving every penny. His manager noticed his dedication and started trusting him with more responsibility. Slowly, Ethan built a reputation for being reliable and hardworking. The more he grew, the smaller his parents' power over him became. Still, at night, he couldn't stop imagining their faces when they'd realize he no longer needed them. One evening, while scrolling through social media, Ethan saw his mother's name trending locally. She had been featured in a community article praising her for raising a successful son. The irony made his stomach twist. The article even used an old photo of him from high school, smiling beside her at an event. The caption read, "Proud mother of a college graduate." Ethan laughed bitterly. She hadn't even shown up to his graduation. He clicked the comment section, watching people congratulate her. Something inside him broke. He took a deep breath and began typing. His fingers trembled, but the words poured out. "She wasn't there when I graduated. She called the police on me when I refused to give her money. The truth matters." He hovered over the post button, heart pounding. One click, and the world would see who they really were. One click, and their mask would fall. But something stopped him. He thought about his own future, his name tied to theirs, the attention, the questions. Would exposing them really set him free, or would it pull him back into their mess? He deleted the draft. Revenge, he realized, wasn't always about public shame. Sometimes the best revenge was success. Quiet, steady success that burned brighter than their lies. Still, anger doesn't disappear easily. Weeks passed, and Ethan tried to focus on his new life, but the past kept chasing him. He'd get random emails from unknown addresses. It was his mother again, pretending to be someone else. "You'll regret cutting us off," one message said. "Family is forever." He ignored it. Then came another. "We need help. Please call us." He didn't, not anymore. Months rolled by. Ethan's savings grew. His confidence returned. He applied for a promotion, and when he got it, he felt a rush of pride he hadn't felt since graduation day. He wanted to share the news with someone, but the people who should have been proud were the same ones who'd betrayed him, so he kept it to himself, letting that quiet victory become his form of peace. But fate wasn't done with him yet. One afternoon, his old neighbor called. "Ethan," she said, "your parents came by asking for your new address. They said you stole from them again." Ethan's stomach turned cold. They hadn't changed. They never would. But instead of panic, he felt something else. Control. He calmly explained the situation, told the neighbor the truth, and sent her copies of the police report clearing his name. When she saw the evidence, she apologized and promised to tell others what really happened. For the first time, Ethan realized he didn't have to fight loudly. The truth, when spoken with calm confidence, was louder than any lie. A few weeks later, Ethan learned his mother's business was struggling. Customers were complaining about hidden fees and false advertising. Word spread fast in their small town. Ethan didn't celebrate it, but he couldn't deny the irony. It was as if karma had finally caught up. He hadn't lifted a finger. Life had done the work for him. Still, he couldn't stop thinking about them. Part of him still wanted closure, to face them and ask why. But another part feared he already knew the answer. They didn't see anything wrong with what they'd done. In their eyes, he was the ungrateful one, the child who owed them for existing. One night, Ethan got another voicemail. His father's voice was quieter than before. Tired. "Ethan, we just wanted to talk. Things aren't good right now. Maybe we can start over." He listened to it twice. It sounded sincere, but he couldn't tell if it was guilt or desperation. He didn't call back. Some bridges once burned weren't worth rebuilding. Instead, Ethan began to heal in silence. He spent weekends exploring the city, making friends at work, and investing in himself. He started taking online classes in business management, determined to climb higher. The more he grew, the smaller their betrayal felt. He was finally becoming the person he was meant to be, free from their shadow. But the idea of revenge never fully disappeared. It transformed. Instead of hurting them, he wanted them to see his success from afar, to realize he had done everything they said he couldn't. He imagined them watching his life from a distance, realizing too late that they had pushed away the one person who truly cared about them. Sometimes, at night, he'd drive by his old neighborhood. The house lights were dim now, the lawn overgrown. It no longer felt like home. It felt like a memory, a reminder of what he had escaped. He didn't hate them anymore, but he couldn't forgive them either. Forgiveness, he realized, wasn't about pretending nothing happened. It was about letting go of the need for revenge. Ethan knew the story wasn't over. His parents would probably reach out again, maybe even apologize when they needed something. But next time, he'd be ready. He'd learned the hardest lesson. Sometimes the people you expect to protect you are the ones you must protect yourself from. And so, he stayed quiet, working, growing, and moving forward. His revenge was no longer about payback. It was about peace. Peace earned through strength, discipline, and the decision to never let his pain define him again. He didn't need to destroy them. Their own choices would do that. All he needed to do was live well. And that, he thought, as he turned off his phone and looked at the sunrise through his apartment window, was the sweetest revenge of all. Months passed quietly after Ethan's decision to cut all contact with his parents. He worked long hours, saved money, and built a steady rhythm in his life. The past still hurt, but it no longer ruled him. He had learned to fill the silence with progress instead of anger. Still, there were nights when memories returned. His empty graduation seat, the police at his door, his mother's cold voice. Those moments lived deep in him, reminders of what betrayal looked like when it wore a parent's face. Then, one chilly morning, Ethan received a letter. It wasn't handwritten. It came from the local police department in his hometown. His heart skipped when he saw the seal. For a moment, panic returned. Had they filed another false report? But when he opened it, the words stunned him. It wasn't about him. It was about his parents. They were being investigated for fraud. His mother's business had been caught overcharging clients and using fake accounts to move money. Several customers had filed complaints, and the case was serious. Ethan sat there, frozen. He didn't know how to feel. Part of him wanted to laugh, part wanted to cry. He had dreamed of justice, but not like this. The same people who had tried to destroy his name were now watching their own crumble. He hadn't lifted a finger. Life had simply done what he couldn't. As days passed, more news came. Their business was shut down, their bank accounts frozen, neighbors whispered, friends distanced themselves. The once respected family was now a topic of gossip. Ethan heard all this through people back home who still remembered him. He didn't respond much, just nodded or said he wasn't surprised. But inside, emotions clashed. Satisfaction, guilt, sadness, and something close to peace. Still, curiosity pulled him back. He wanted to see it for himself. One weekend, he drove back to his old town. The streets looked smaller than he remembered, the air quieter. When he turned onto his childhood street, he slowed the car. The house he once called home looked worn down. The lawn was uncut, windows dusty, paint peeling. The life inside it had faded. He parked across the street and sat for a while, unsure if he should go in. Part of him wanted to turn back and leave the past behind, but another part needed closure. He got out and walked to the door. When his mother opened it, she froze. The confident woman who once scolded him for being ungrateful now looked exhausted. Her hair was messy, her eyes hollow. Behind her, the furniture was sparse, some pieces gone, sold off. "Ethan," she said quietly. "You came." "I did," he replied. His voice was calm, steady. His father appeared behind her, shoulders slumped. The sight of them didn't bring the satisfaction he thought it would. There was no victory in seeing people broken, even if they had earned it. For a long moment, no one spoke. Finally, his father gestured toward the living room. "You can sit if you want." Ethan stepped inside. The house felt colder, emptier. The walls that once held family photos were now bare. It was strange. This place had once been filled with noise and tension, and now it was just quiet. His mother tried to smile, but her lips trembled. "How have you been?" she asked. "Good," Ethan said simply. "Working. Doing well." His father nodded slowly. "That's good, son, that's good." The silence stretched again. Ethan looked at them, the people who had raised him but never really seen him. "Why did you do it?" he asked finally. "The police, the lies, the money, why?" His mother's eyes filled with tears. "We were desperate," she said softly. "The bills, the pressure. We didn't know what else to do." "You had a choice," Ethan said quietly. "You could have asked for help. You didn't have to destroy me." His father looked away. "We thought you'd forgive us eventually." Ethan almost laughed. "Forgive you? You tried to ruin my life. You made me feel like I didn't matter." No one spoke after that. The air was thick with regret that came too late. His mother wiped her tears, whispering, "We lost everything, Ethan. The business, the house. We just wanted to survive." Ethan looked around the empty room. "And now you know what it feels like to lose everything because of your own choices." His father swallowed hard, unable to respond. Ethan stood up. "I didn't come here to gloat," he said. "I just needed to see it with my own eyes." His mother reached out as if to stop him. "Please, don't go. We can fix things. We can be a family again." Ethan shook his head. "Family doesn't treat each other like tools." "You taught me that." He walked to the door. His mother's voice broke behind him. "You'll never forgive us, will you?" He turned slightly, meeting her tired eyes. "I don't need to forgive you. I just need to move on." And with that, he left. Driving back, Ethan felt something strange, a mix of relief and sorrow. He hadn't shouted, hadn't taken revenge, but he'd finally faced the people who once held power over him. The anger that had burned in him for so long finally began to fade. He realized revenge didn't always come from action. Sometimes it came from silence, from becoming someone better than the people who tried to break you. The road stretched ahead, the sunset painting the sky in gold and red. Ethan rolled down the window and let the wind hit his face. For the first time in years, he felt truly free. Weeks later, he heard that his parents had moved out of town. The business was gone, the debts unpaid. He didn't ask where they went. He didn't need to. That chapter of his life was closed. He focused on his new beginning. His work promoted him again, recognizing his dedication. He started teaching younger employees, mentoring them the way no one had mentored him. People respected him, not because of where he came from, but because of who he had become. One evening, as he walked home from work, his phone buzzed with an unknown number. He almost ignored it, but curiosity made him answer. It was his father. The voice was weak, tired. "Ethan," his father said, "I know you don't owe us anything, but I wanted to say, I'm sorry. We were wrong." Ethan didn't speak. He listened, waiting. "I don't expect you to forgive us," his father continued, "but I want you to know we're proud of you, even if we didn't show it." There was sincerity in his voice. Maybe for the first time, Ethan closed his eyes and took a deep breath. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Take care of yourself." He ended the call before his father could say more. It wasn't closure in the traditional sense, but it was enough. He didn't need revenge anymore. He had peace. Years later, Ethan looked back and realized that everything his parents had done had shaped him, not broken him. Their betrayal taught him strength, their greed taught him independence, and their lies taught him the value of truth. He learned that revenge only burns those who carry it. Letting go had set him free. Sometimes, late at night, he'd remember that lonely graduation day. The empty seats, the silence, the disappointment. But instead of pain, he felt gratitude. Because from that moment of loneliness, he built a life on his own terms. Ethan's story wasn't about revenge. It was about transformation. He didn't destroy his enemies. He outgrew them, and that was a victory no act of vengeance could match. As he stood on his apartment balcony, watching the city lights shimmer, he smiled. His parents' betrayal no longer haunted him. It had forged him. And though they had once called the police on him, the world now called him something far better. Successful, respected, free. Ethan turned off his phone, took a deep breath and whispered to himself, "The past can stay where it belongs." And with that, he walked inside, leaving behind the ghosts of what once was, stepping fully into the peace he had fought so hard to earn.